While the debt to GDP ratio dropped from 108 to 72% over a 3-year period, Grenada is still not totally out of the woods just yet. Government has set an ambitious target to surpass the ECCU target of reducing debt to GDP ratio to 60% by 2030. Head of the IMF delegation, Nicole Laframboise, also indicated that the country will see a moderate 2.5% growth in the economy this year, but says Grenada's debt to GDP ratio is still too high.
It's not a treaty, it's an agreement collectively to reduce their debts to 60% of GDP by, originally it was 2020, Mike, now it's 2030. So when this government was developing its own program, and that was a guidepost, but they also wanted to go a little further, and they chose a target in the medium term of 55% of GDP. And that is still the target, which has been clearly laid out in the fiscal responsibility legislation.
Ms. Laframboise explains what would have contributed to this reduction in the GDP ratio.
Debt restructuring. Well, out of the 36%, 13% of GDP was due to that. Then you have also strong growth, which is in the denominator. The more growth that you have, the more that helps to raise the denominator and lower the ratio. That accounted for approximately 19% of the decline in the ratio. And third, every year that you operate the government, like in your household, you have a balance on your expenditures and revenues, and you have either a surplus or a deficit. And if you have a deficit, you borrow. And if you have a surplus, you either save or you pay down debts. And because over those 3 years, the government moved from a deficit last year into finally a surplus. And that adjustment also helped contribute.
To behind praise of this performance under the program, but strongly recommends that improvements are needed in areas of youth unemployment and agriculture. Now that Grenada has reached the end of the IMF program, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell spoke of steps that must be taken going forward.
Our task now is to further expand economic opportunity. There must be intervention, stronger intervention in the agricultural sector, because we see that as a serious area of opportunity. The continued attraction of private sector initiatives, I think, had to be a trust of government. So the role of the Citizenship by Investment program is certainly going to be a continued major factor. We should be able to take more advantage of the opportunities of tourism.
Joseph McKee-Smith, GBN News.